Oh, hello there. You just caught me in the middle of booting up a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV for another episode of Breakfast of Champions on Fanbyte.com. We've gone through a good chunk of setup in the past couple of weeks, and I think there will be just a tiny bit more at the beginning here. But not very much, because I took photos of my preferred hotkeys, or hot cross buns bar. So this should only take a couple seconds while I set up. I'm kind of setting up the stream to begin with anyway, making sure everything is working as intended, making sure that we are all on the same page, that we all are connected in a very Tetris Effect sort of way. That is, of course, not the game that I'm playing. The game that I'm playing is Final Fantasy XIV, technically Stormblood, I guess, for the next couple of weeks anyway. We are getting, what's it called here, very shortly. Shadowbringers, that's the word. Another expansion in the very exciting world of Final Fantasy XIV. I say that, like, I almost said that kind of, like, sarcastically. I mean that very much so. Let me tell you, viewers, I spent so much goddamn time playing some of the endgame content in Final Fantasy XIV here, over the weekend. And it was extremely fun, and I like it a lot. I was extremely scared of Final Fantasy XIV endgame content for the longest time, because I had never actually played, like, a raid for real, or if I had, it was a long, long time ago, when I was a child and had more time on my hands and was not so afraid of interacting with strangers on the internet. I had not learned better yet. You know, that sort of thing. But yeah, I spent a whole lot of time with it over the weekend, and did a lot of raiding, and that was very fun, and I loved it. And I did a whole bunch of... Well, there's two kinds of raids in Final Fantasy XIV, basically. There are, what are they called? Alliance raids. And then there are, not that, what are they called? Just regular, I think they're just called raids, is actually what it is. It's like raids versus, like, what they call alliance raids, which, when I think of, like, what a raid is, I picture what they call an alliance raid, which is, like, large groups of people split off into multiple, like, subgroups, all doing their thing together to try and kind of beat down a big boss. You know, playing Final Fantasy or Metal Gear, beating big boss. Finding the man himself, the man who sold the world. But yeah, I've been on I don't know, I've just been on a Final Fantasy MMO kick. I very nearly over the weekend, I say over the weekend, that's a complete lie. I very nearly last night bought Final Fantasy XI because Final Fantasy XIV was under maintenance, and I was like, well, I should check this out, right? Like, for historical purposes, this deserves my attention. For historical purposes. This is very important. And actually, I've found some interesting stuff. I did not end up buying it. Otherwise, I might be streaming that right now, and I don't think anybody actually wants that. But... is that Shirk? No. Which one is this? I don't want Shirk there. Oh, wait. What I've ended up doing instead last night was watching the Final Fantasy XIV, the first part anyway, of the Final Fantasy XIV documentary series by NoClip. Those folks over there, including one Danny O'Dwyer. I had heard nothing but good things about that for the longest time, and people have continued to tell me, as a fan of Final Fantasy XIV, as a large proponent of Final Fantasy XIV, that I should at some point watch that documentary series. So I did. I watched the first part of it. It's I think in 3 parts. I only watched the first one because it was very late at night, and I was ready for bed at that point, and because I wanted to genuinely, I just wanted to get up after the maintenance was over this morning and play some more of this. So I did that. I got up and I installed the patch, and everything is cool now. Other than that, I haven't been. I mean, I've been playing. Well, I guess the major thing for sure is that I've been playing some Rage 2. Which I'm deciding. I had to. It was kind of a toss up this morning if I wanted to play Rage 2 for the stream or not. That's definitely the big popular game at the moment. Or I actually have no idea how popular it is. That is definitely, I think, the big release of this week. For sure. It is okay. I'm enjoying it. You can always tell when somebody is really enjoying something when they phrase that as a question. But the thing about Rage is that it is also extremely, I would say, mindless. Mindless is probably an okay word for that. It's not very hard. I bumped it up to a harder difficulty last night, so I'm going to mess around with it a little bit more that way and see how that goes. But it's very, very easy to just blow through that game in a way that did not feel particularly interesting to put onto a stream. And because I'm already on my Final Fantasy kick as it is, I figured I would just continue the streak, kind of build up some momentum doing this, rather than just hop around to whatever's new. Because again, I'm not even sure how, I mean, it seems popular enough, I guess. Like, doesn't seem like people hate it. But yeah, it's just not speaking to me very, very much yet. So I'm kind of cool. So until I kind of get maybe more into it and kind of get more of a general sense of like whether or not it would be interesting at all to watch, I figured I would go with something that I'm more confident I can find some more interesting stuff to do in. More interesting than setting up my UI anyway. I've been fussing with this thing on the PlayStation 4 version quite a lot, so oopsie. I finally kind of decided what I wanted to do with it and found a setup that works for me. I wanted to carry that one forward. And, yeah, I think there we go. We got it. So last episode, I guess, we kind of got my new character configured, my new look and everything like that. So I figured it was finally time to get in here and do some actual gameplay. We haven't really done any of that, honestly, which is kind of crazy, but so what am I looking for here? I'm looking for controller. One last thing I want to set. I just want to set something so that it doesn't go to first person, because I kind of hate that. I kind of hate how that works. There we go. Change camera, make that draw lock on. I love having this because then I can do this on my cool character. You can't really see because of the way my camera is set up right now. But yeah, so I'm continuing with some stuff with Alexander. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence here about what I want to do. Is like I feel like Alexander's kind of old hat stuff at this point. Oh, I know what I'll do. What I promised that I was going to do, which actually will require me to change characters yet again here, but that should be fine. Let's upgrade that gear set. Is that the right one? Shire, yes. Okay. Let's go to my main class here. Let's go to the Dark Knight. Let's do recommended gear. Let's definitely turn that helmet off because I like the look of my character right now. Let's reset that gear. Level 330. 1. But yeah, I'm gonna probably jump through some of the story mode stuff here, or through some of the main campaign stuff, because that was what I was kind of hoping to see a little bit of before, or rather, not even see. I want to get caught up before Shadowbringers just throws everything for a loop. Like, it's gonna be all over the place. Yeah. Once again, it's kind of a lazy morning over here. I am just kind of, I wouldn't say waking up. That's kind of, I'm on the, what, I was wondering, I couldn't remember what coast I live on, only to remember I don't live on a coast. What am I even doing? I have a coffee next to me. I have not drank any of that coffee yet, so this is what I'm deciding now to blame for any kind of strangeness and inconsistencies that you may encounter on this or any other stream. Whoopsie, that's not the right one. I want that, and then I want that. And then I don't want that there either. I want low blow there. So let's put that there. Let's put that there. Most of these are carrying over quite nicely. That's all right. Promise we're gonna get into a real thing here. This is kind of just me like futzing around because I like to futz around with this stuff. I like to optimize. It's just kind of like relaxing to me. And you know, at the end of the day, why not? Why not? Got the sound of the beautiful rain in the background, the sound of the waterfalls. Kind of soothing me. Just in general. What is that, 2400? Oh, okay, that's... So I want that, and then go to this, and then go to that. So those move around. And then get that, and move it up here. And then put that over here. And then put that over there. I feel like I'm playing a sliding block puzzle right now. Just kind of like trying to rejigger everything to be exactly the way that I want. That there. That there. Oops, some of this stuff isn't quite actually lining up the way that I wanted it either because I'm not paying enough attention. Awareness should be on here somewhere. And it will be. Shirk. Where do I normally put shirk? Shirk goes on to number 3. Yep, there's shirk right there. Put right there. Put that there. Limit break goes down there. Mountain roulette is fine. That can just go because I never use it. Run can go because I've already got that macroed now. So this can go back onto 3, but just in a different spot. Whoops. There. Shirks stay there. Where's that other? I think I've accidentally put like a bad shirk in there. I don't need that shirk. I need awareness. I think that's awareness. That's awareness. Yeah. That will go to hotbar 2, where that errant shirk is. And then anticipation will go over here. This will go there. One last, there's kind of like one thing I want to move around. Whoops, turn that back on. There we go. There's one more important thing. I need to put unmend onto hotbar 3. In there. What do we got now? Okay. This. Mostly looking good. I don't need that. I don't need delirium there. This one. Looking good, looking good, looking good. All that's looking good. This one down here. Looking good. I want delirium down there. I think that's kind of the last thing here. Delirium, 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 delirium. Delirium. That can go there. Looking good, looking good, all looking good. Okay, over here we got this, that, the other thing. Looking good, looking good. Okay, we're all set. All right, so that means we want to get on a... No, we want to teleport to Rhalgr's Reach, which is in Garabania, I think? Rhalgr's Reach, there we go. Oh, actually, before we go, we might as well... There's a hunt around here. Let's go finish off that hunt. Get me some Centurio seals. Just kind of see what we can see. It's in the something delta, the Quickspill Delta. Yeah, just over in the watery area. Get that nice music playing. We're off on an adventure. The archive will not include the part where I continue to mess around with my UI, but it's just just think of it as unintended ASMR. Steven Strum, with his deep, soothing voice, sets up your user interface. Not that one. I always have trouble finding anything in the Quickspill Delta. Oh, but sure enough, there's the one I need right there. Let's get used to these controls again. This is a slightly new setup for me, but it shouldn't be too bad. Dark Knight is probably the most complicated tank in the game currently. We'll see how Gunbreakers end up shaking out. I'm actually very excited. I tend to play a tank in Final Fantasy XIV. I find the positional stuff to be incredibly interesting and very cool and fun. But who knows? Maybe Gunbreakers won't be my thing. There we go, 15 Sincerio Seals. I should have done that on my Paladin to give them the XP, but oh well. Now we can go. We can go to Rhalgr's Reach in Girabania. Abania, I think, is actually how that's pronounced, but whatever. While I'm there, I'll turn in a real quick quest and get myself some Paladin XP after all, actually. There's like a blowgun minigame that I played a while back, but I was one level too low to turn it in as a Paladin, and the XP would have been wasted on my level 70 Dark Knight. So, for anybody watching, whether on the stream or on the eventual archive, what I'm about to do is the post Stormblood, like 1.0, which is like, I think it's technically called like 4.0, like 4.0 campaign. I have not done any of this at all yet. I have not touched the campaign after the final battle that came with the launch of Stormblood. So this next thing that I do will be the continuation of that for anybody who's interested in a refresher or just seeing it for themselves to kind of get like a taste of like what the story missions in this game kind of look like, because it's actually extremely interesting. Oops. Well, shit. Oh, well, fuck me. I could have just not accepted that. Oh, well, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. There's always more XP to get. There are always more raids to do. There are always more duties to find. Box. Lise seems troubled. Let's find out why. While I take a big sip of coffee. Yes, I have. That's exactly why I'm here. I'm kind of curious what my old friends in the Scions of the Seventh Dawn are up to. So, if it wasn't clear from before when I was explaining that this is story stuff, there will be major spoilers here. I might reference... they will certainly reference things that happen in the Stormblood main campaign. So don't watch if you're not interested in that stuff. I will probably make some pretty direct references to that stuff as well. So this is your 2-minute warning that we're about to get into spoiler country. We can't stop here. We have to push through. Push through the spoilers. Push through your fear of the spoiler culture. push through your fear and get a Rot 13 app or something. Get on Twitter. Oh, don't get on Twitter. That's terrible advice. My guess is that Lise will end up becoming some kind of queen. I think she's royalty of some kind, isn't she? Oh, okay. We need to find a queen. The exact same thing, but it's a different word, so it's poetic. I do kind of like this Final Fantasy XIV style of, like, political intrigue and commentary and stuff like that, where it's, like, people, like, resigned to doing... To making the wheels of bureaucracy turn, like, resigned to doing the work of that sort of... that labor of finding people and having conversations and doing that sort of thing. And like complaining about the like act of doing it, but recognizing like because it's work and it's hard, but recognizing that it is a necessary thing to do. And I feel like Final Fantasy XIV does that a lot, where it's a lot of stuff of like having those conversations and hashing that shit out, and not just like saying like, well, this is the chosen one, so they're the king. Point of fact, there's a whole subplot about like oligarchy in 2.0. Or not 2.0, but 2.3 or whatever. Forget who Minago is. She looks just designed enough to be a supporting character. Lise is, of course, member of Science of the Seventh Dawn. She gets a nice, cool costume when Stormblood started, or right before Stormblood started. I have my nice, cool a login something armor right now. That's what my set currently is. In fact, I can probably go buy some upgrades for it. I will join you. I'm sure you won't betray me at all. Just let me take a big sip of coffee while I expect you not to betray me. I don't remember who this guy is either. After this cutscene, I might turn up the volume just a teensy bit. I'm not totally sure if it's... oh, maybe I can just turn it up in my headphones. Maybe it's perfectly fine on everybody else's end. I don't know. I'm not happy with how that smile looked. Twist my arm. Do it. Do it, motherfucker. You coward. Oh, I should also get my buffs going. Alright then, let's go find Master Levelier? Alphano. Actually, leave that to me. I want you fresh for our little adventure. Wait for us by the Aetheryte, and we'll be along shortly. See you there. I'm sure this won't be a betrayal at all. This guy seems extremely like a betrayer. In Final Fantasy terms, in Final Fantasy XIV terms especially, I feel like this guy feels exactly like the kind of guy who'd be like, oh, I'm affable enough and have a certain martial appearance. I am going to show up in 6 missions before this and then turn out to be a bad guy. But maybe I'll have some, like, morally ambiguous reasoning behind it. One thing I'm going to actually do, too, is I'm going to system configuration... Display settings? Is that where it's found under? No. Is it under character configuration? UI settings. I want to turn off HUD. I want to turn off the main story thing, because I don't really need it. Display, display main scenario guide. Don't really need that. I like to keep a nice uncluttered screen screen in this game. Like, this game has so much stuff going on that is, you kind of find out over time, is completely cosmetic and unnecessary. So many little details that, like, as information you do not need at hand right now, whereas there was actually, like, a ton of information you need at all times to actually, like, get through certain content. And cluttering that up with stuff that you don't need at hand. I don't need to know the name of my server at all times. I know what my server is. Even if I didn't, that information is very rarely actually useful. Greetings, Stephen. Boy. Coffee. Greetings, Stephen. 'Twould seem we are to accompany Ehrenwald on some manner of escapade. Have you any idea what we've gotten ourselves into? Allow me to explain. It'll be something of a history lesson, but I'll try to be brief. No snoring, if you please. Ha 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 ha. Now stand on this big target I've painted on the ground, and don't look up. Now, the events I would speak of occurred before the occupation, back when Alamigo was still a monarchy, and Theodoric sat the throne. Theodoric? A uniquely brutal despot by all accounts. That he was. The King of Ruin suffered no rivals, real or imagined, and his dispute with the monks of the Fist ended with Warwick's reach being burned to the ground. In the latter years of his rule, he was seized by the unshakable belief that unseen forces were conspiring to steal his crown, and so he ordered that every soul with a claim to the throne be executed, including his own family. The wealth of the poor sods he put to death became the property of the king, and it's said that these royal treasures were hoarded somewhere in the palace. Thus was born the legend of the Mad King's Trove. Ah, I believe I see the direction of our adventure is to take. I assume you have mind to unearth this hidden bounty? You assume correctly. Cool, treasure hunt. I'm into that. And I would be, and would I also be correct in assuming that this legend is widely known? Others must surely have gone in search of your prize, tempting as it seems. Well, of course. We won't be the first to make the attempt. Following Alamigo's liberation, more than a few eager soldiers turned the place upside down in hopes of claiming an easy fortune. But even after scouring every room from dusk till dawn, they uncovered not a single coin. Their gold lust drained away as quickly as it had come, and the legend of the Mad King's Trove remained simply that, a legend. The Mad King's Trove is a really good name for a treasure to find. It's a really good name for like a D&D scenario or something. What self-respecting adventurer would? Imagine the three of us delving into a decades-old mystery. Tell me that thought doesn't set your heart to racing. That classic Final Fantasy XIV nod. That really deliberate nod. There we go. Oh, box! I thought I was getting a box. That's the emote box. That's not how I would have phrased that. I would have probably written boxing or something. We're gonna get some shirashi sushi, some jerked jamel, some miso dengaku, our analog in silver piece. The news of Doma and Alamigo's liberation has kindled the flames of revolution in every corner of the empire. I hear the imperial province of Dalmasca has already risen up in rebellion. Oh ho ho! Dalmasca! For those of you who don't know, that's the country from Final Fantasy XII, which I found out over the weekend that this game apparently takes place like 5,000 years in the future, or some number of eons in the future of the Final Fantasy XII / Final Fantasy Tactics / Vagrant story universe. It takes place, like, they mention Ivalice being like an ancient land that was destroyed in a previous calamity. Which means the Garleans must surely have their hands full. What better time than now to indulge in such a diversion? Tell us, Ehrenwald. Have we any clues as to where we might begin our search? And the whole thing about the Final Fantasy XII Ivalice connection is interesting to me because, like, throughout this game, they have established that, oh, this is all part of, like, and this isn't even new to Final Fantasy. Like, they've made other Final Fantasy games that address this. Final Fantasy Tactics, in fact, has this. But that they all take place in a shared multiverse where people can kind of, like, jump forward and backward between different worlds. Noctis is in this game for a hot minute because he gets teleported here, and then we teleported him back with Garuda. But it's interesting to me that they specifically chose the Final Fantasy XII Ivalice universe. I say Final Fantasy XII, most people probably know it for Final Fantasy Tactics, but to me it's always been 12. I've never really played much Tactics. it's interesting to me that they chose that one specifically as the place to like be directly connected to the Final Fantasy XIV Eorzea, and like who knows, maybe it's a different version of Ivalice. Maybe it's like in this universe, Ivalice is just like something in the past as well. I don't know. But I saw Rabanastre. I saw the city, the capital city from Final Fantasy XII in the background during like the raid setup for the Return to Ivalice raid and stuff like that. And I know Fran's in this game, but I always just assumed that she teleported here through some magical interdimensional travel, and maybe she still does. Maybe that's how that shakes out. I have not gone through that yet, but I'm very interested too. Which means the Garleans must surely have their hands full. What better time than now to indulge in such a diversion? Tell us, Ehrenwald, have we any clues as to where we might begin our search? Well, judging by how the other treasure hunters fared, nosing about the palace isn't likely to get us anywhere. So, we'll probably need to, ask around. You know what I'm saying. Would that be another way of saying no? Ha! Well, yes. I see. In that case, I shall pay a visit to the Allied Archivists and request access to the records seized from the Imperials. The Garleans are meticulous about such things. If they uncovered the trove during their occupation, the event is certain to have been recorded. In the meantime, the two of you can track down those who worked as palace servants and officials in Theodoric's day. Given that they would have been at least 20 at the time, you will be looking for people who have seen 40 summers or more. And anything they can tell you about the king and his bloody deeds may prove useful, so be sure to listen well. Ehrenwald, pray try your luck in the fringes and the peaks, whilst Stephen makes the rounds in the Alamegan quarter. Ha! And there I was thinking I was the party leader. Not that I mind, of course. Let's be about it, eh? We can meet afterwards at Guildbard's Gate. Ehrenwald, have you seen my armor? Have you compared us visually? I have highlights. Thank you. I have highlights, god damn it. Alamegan Quarter, where's that? Easy enough to find. Maybe I needed to keep the... Oh, no. It's over. It's in a different place. In the locks! Wait. That's probably not someplace I need to... There's probably a teleporter there. Yep. It's just a little bit buried. There. I should play through all of the Final Fantasy Tactics one of these days. Final Fantasy XII and Tactics. Kind of get a better sense of that. I played a little bit of Vagrant Story not too long ago, and just... Boy, it's just... parts of that game are extremely impressive and interesting. I love the look of it. I love the tone. I love the story. But parts of the mechanics just do not hold up today. That seems like a game that would be fan-fucking-tastic choice for a remake. I would, in fact, like to see a remake of that before something like a Final Fantasy VII, but that's just me. In the palace? No, not me, lass. Surely you've heard stories of the Mad King? He used to hold public executions up on the divine audience. Anyone, and I mean anyone, suspected of conspiring against the crown was flung from the top of those steps. Suffice it to say that I've stayed as far away from the palace as possible. Yeah, well, fair, dude. Let's talk to Mature Maid. See what they have to say. You want to hear an old maid's stories? Lady, it says right above your head that you're mature. And you hardly look old. You know, respect yourself a little bit better. You want to hear an old maid's stories, do you? Why, well, most of what I know of the Mad King is common knowledge. We'd only see his royal majesty when he deigned to attend the executions he'd ordered. And after a while, even watching his enemies die wasn't enough to coax him out of hiding. They say he started seeing assassins in every shadow and wouldn't set foot outside the palace walls. I was offered work there as a royal servant once, but the mere thought of it left me in a cold sweat. Seems like this Mad King was a bad guy. This is just a guess. This is a fan theory. The Steven Strum lore corner. I think this guy that they call the Mad King was a bad guy at some point. Oh boy. Can I just, can I cheat this? Can I... Get on my fat chocobo, my beautiful boy! Woo! That's why I love to have the duty roulette on. It's always a surprise when this guy just pops in. Goodbye, old friend. Did I say duty roulette? I meant mountain roulette. Whatever. I served at the pleasure of King Theodoric, and lived to tell the tale. One of the palace guards I was. Retired Rogaden. I will never once fucking understand how to pronounce that. Truth be told, it was a dark chapter in my life, and one I'd sooner forget. Hardly a night went by when we didn't hear blood-curdling screams echoing from the inner chambers, which, of course, we were under orders to ignore. So we'd stand still as statues, trying not to imagine what horrors were unfolding within. If you're hell's-bent on finding out what happened in the palace, head down the street here, and ask old Ernald. He was the king's head scribe. What do we got for me this time, roulette? Black Chocobo! Black Chocobo! Chocobo, Chocobo. Yes, I am Ernald. What you want with me? Why did I say that so weird? I'm having a stroke. You would have me dredge up some decidedly unsavory memories, yet if Alamigo is to move forward, we must needs acknowledge the misdeeds of the past. Very well, I shall tell you what I remember. I take it you know of Theodoric's paranoia and the public execution of his kinsman. Those were terrible enough, but in his last days, the king's fevered mind settled upon an even grislier method of disposal, which only a few were unfortunate enough to witness. His Majesty ordered the court thaumaturge to unleash a vile curse upon the remaining members of the royal family, a magic which transformed them into fiends of hideous aspect. The resulting monstrosities were then cast into the darkness below the palace. Even now, my sleep is troubled by nightmares. If others of Theodoric's blood were prone to share his madness, then mayhap it is a kindness that the monarchy ended with him. It is a kindness for the monarchy to end. Full stop, my dude. Rise up, gamers. Understand. Only true gamers understand neoconservatives, or no, not neoconservatives, neo-reactionaries ain't got no place in Eorzea. Since we're all here, why don't we share what we've learned? Allow me to begin then. As promised, I scoured the imperial records for any mention of fantastic creatures, treasures, and found precisely none. Fantastic beasts and where to find them. Not there, apparently. It is just possible, I suppose, that a corrupt official deliberately hid the fact of the trove's discovery, hoping to enrich himself, but I find it rather unlikely that so valuable a find would stay secret for long. I conclude that our prize either does not exist, or that the Imperials somehow overlooked it. I had to take a drink there, but Alphino wasn't saying anything that interesting. Turned into monsters? What could he mean by this darkness beneath the palace, I wonder? I met an old man in Alagiri who spoke of the palace's subterranean prison, but he said not of cursed abominations. The Imperial archives are also silent on the subject of fiends inside the palace grounds. Could this scribe fellow have been spinning her a yarn, do you think? Did you believe him, Stephen? His fears seemed genuine. If he was afraid, that does lend credence to the tale, though I'm not sure how much that helps us in our search. Do not be so hasty. Arnold's anecdote may very well have told us where the trove is hidden, but ere I share my theory, there is a matter I would clarify. Ehrenwald, you spoke of light-hearted adventure, but I sense a deeper motive for this expedition. Why are you so intent on finding this treasure? Are you going to betray us? Drop an anvil on our heads? It wasn't all pretense, I swear it, but you're right. My father was in the Imperial Army, a man of Garlean blood. I trust you know what I mean when I say that my Alamegan mother did not welcome my arrival. As I grew, she would check my brow over and over, convinced that a spot on my skin was an emerging third eye, like the kind you see in pure-blood Garleans. My mother did not care for this taunting reminder of my heritage, and took up a knife. War paint serves to cover the scar. Oh shit, dude. In the end, she turned me out into the street, and I was left to haunt the alleyways of Alamigo, a feral child who got what he needed through begging, cunning, or worse. I had a knife, and no mother to go, no! The best I can say about the years that followed is that I survived, but I hated the animal I'd become. Eventually, I left the city behind me and joined a group of refugees bound for the other side of the wall. It was then that I turned to adventuring, and that road led me into the company of the Cylons. You can tell because I'm talking to Minfilia in this flashback. She still looks like her old self and not the one in the Shadowbringers trailer. I tell you this so that you understand. I know all too well what poverty and hunger can do to a person. I drew steel on ordinary folk for a measly crust of bread. With Theodoric's gold, I could spare my countrymen the shame of living like that. It's less about shame and more about just, like, people shouldn't go hungry. Thank you, Ehrenwald, and I apologize. That cannot have been pleasant to recall, but I felt it best to be clear in our intentions. Ehrenwald, though, you seem all right. I'm sorry I accused you of being a betrayer several times. We're going to put that part of our lives behind us and raise up the working class with the wealth of the bourgeoisie. Well, Stephen, are you content to surrender the treasure to Ehrenwald's noble cause and claim the thrill of adventure as your reward? Hell yeah, dude! Then I should be glad to tell you my theory on the resting place of the Mad King's Trove, if you are minded to hear it. Okay. Tenacity, Fatality, this is the one I want. Okay. What time is it? 10:26. We'll do at least one more here. I feel like we are approaching something with a little bit more of gameplay to it. Actually, mayhap it would be better if we first adjourn to a more suitable location. In case a rival treasure hunter overhears our plans, you mean? Good thinking! That was not exactly the reason, but is certainly a valid concern. Let us reconvene on the southern edge of Loch Seld. Ride this Eureka? What are these called again? These birds. The ones that they have on the Yasm Steppe. That was a cool mission. Stormblood proper, where you ride across the steppes on giant birds and fight like this kind of like weird mock battle against like multiple tribes all across the region. That's dope. It's really cool. Swoosh. Pop. Zzz. Bring, bring, bring. Forgive me. 'Twas not my intention to draw out proceedings. I simply wished to have the lock in sight while I explain things. Oh, is there going to be some swimming? Prior to the great flood of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, the salt lakes you see before you were yet dry ravines. And this, believe it or not, was the site of the ancient city of Scala, which rose and fell during the Fifth Astral Era. I love it when they get into, like... So, Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, when that fell apart and got canceled or shut down or whatever and replaced with Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, aka Final Fantasy XIV 2.0, that... ended with like a giant moon cracking open and revealing Bahamut was inside of it the whole time, and that destroying the land and stuff and becoming like the seventh Umbral Calamity or whatever. They kind of like delineate time in this universe with like Umbral eras and Astral eras, and it's kind of like, oh, it's cyclical, but we're keeping track of like when civilization rises to a new height. There's usually something that fucks it up, and it's always something different. And the thing that fucked it up last time, at the end of Final Fantasy 1.0, where everybody died and lost, and basically that was kind of like roped into the story. That was the seventh Umbral Calamity, I believe. And so they, every once in a while, will like fill out the lore of like what the previous Umbral Calamities were, like the things that brought different civilizations down. And I believe the fourth Umbral Calamity was in the like the first raid in the game explains that it's like the ancient civilization, like the Prothean equivalent, the whatever, like name your sci-fi technology species or whatever, grew like fat, decadent, made a bunch of pacts with demons, and then like created an earthquake that shattered the land, and that was the fourth one. So I guess we're learning about another one here a little bit. Maybe that information was already in the game somewhere else and I just didn't know about it, but still very cool. From what we know of the period, the city was already deserted by the time the waters began to rise, having been all but destroyed by war, yet its ruins remain to this day at the bottom of Loch Seld. It is my belief that the darkness beneath the palace mentioned by Theodoric's former scribe was not a reference to the prison, but to a place still further below, the ruins of Scala. I further surmise that the Mad King's unfortunate kinsmen were cast down there not simply out of a desire to punish them, but to discourage exploration. Theodoric wanted to keep the ruins secure. Wait, you're saying they were meant to guard the Mad King's trove? Still a good name. God damn. Precisely, and since we know the court thaumaturge was involved, we can safely assume that any entrance into this old city will have been magically concealed. Which would explain how a legion of Imperial soldiers and the gods know how many Alamegans never found a trace of the trove. Trace of the trove, trace of the trove. Say that 5 times fast. We, however, have certain advantages with which they did not enjoy. Stephen, would you be so good as to swim down to the bottom of the loch and search for an underwater route into the ruins? While you do that, our VoD and I will seek out an ensorcel portal within the palace. Nod, nod. Turn, turn. Hand, walk. Bop, blop, blop. Cool, the swimming stuff in this game is neat. It's neat that you can just do, like, that they added that stuff over time. Whoosh! This major mechanic that's just not in the game. I think you can be on a mount in the water too, so that's neat. Oh boy, I don't even know where to go, but it's neat that there's just like a whole city down here. I didn't know about this. It's like a castle. Those monsters, or those like... Are those like things I need to interact with, maybe? Oh! Looking like maybe things I need to interact with. I see it on the map now. I missed those before. Are they? Or even are they? I don't know. Okay. Alright. Oh, destination. Got it, got it, got it. Walked right past it. Surveying. Oh, there's a bunch of big fucking snowflakes everywhere. My survey says, you discover a passage that appears to lead under the palace foundations. Press on and find out where it goes. Alright. Twist my arm, why don't you? You pervert. Do it. Blup, blup, blup. I will say this city doesn't feel like it was maybe super highly textured. So, you come to a worn stone door standing temptingly ajar. It would appear you have found an entrance into the subterranean ruins. Alright. Apparently link pearls work underwater. Stephen, it's Alphino! We have searched the prison beneath the palace and found a door concealed by enchantments. Have you aught to report? And you believe it leads into the ruins? Excellent. Then I propose we proceed from our respective entry points and look to meet someone in the middle. Oh, come on, you two. We might as well make it a race. Victory goes to the first adventurer to find the treasure. Godspeed. Grand City of Scala now accessible. Oh, okay. So it's going to be a whole thing. I don't know if we have time for that right this moment. This moment. I don't know why I say the words weird. I don't know why I'm bad at talking. So, yeah, let's boogie on out. Now that that's unlocked, I can do it from here whenever I want from now on. I keep hitting the wrong goddamn buttons on here, too. I want this. There we go. Alright, well, I think we got through the prelude to the adventure there. I'm curious, I'm wondering if I want to do something else here real quick to just kind of like close it out, but I think that was a good start on this, because I'm going to be repeatedly showing more of the story throughout the next couple of weeks as we approach Shadowbringers, and we'll hopefully have a quicker start next week. So I will probably call it there for now. A little bit of a lighter stream, a little bit more relaxing. Still enjoy that sometimes. That's what Breakfast of Champions is supposed to be all about. It's supposed to be about giving you a relaxing thing to watch perhaps in the mornings, perhaps not, perhaps on your commute, perhaps you're just, hanging out at home, perhaps you've got other things to do, better things to do than work, but sometimes you want something on in the background, and it's just me making noises into a microphone about user interface decisions. Because that's what it ends up turning out to be, honestly, a lot of the time. How did I get here? Where the fuck am I? Wait, where is this place? Sure. Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Breakfast of Champions. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of our regular Wednesday stream, and then I will be back on Thursday with either more of this or maybe some Rage if I can find some interesting stuff to do in it. And we'll do some stuff on here. We'll maybe continue with the story, maybe not. Maybe we'll go ahead and play some raid type stuff. We'll do some duties, do some trials, do something like that. I've got some hard mode trials, some extreme mode trials that I would really like to get at sometime. And yeah, talk to you folks later.